animals are rescued from a roadside zoo, we take a look at the rules and the regulations in our state. Plus, the new campaign that aims to prevent teenagers from vaping. Why the state of Iowa is behind it 100%. KCCI 8 News Close-Up starts right now.
This is Iowa's news leader. This is KCCI 8 News Close-Up.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. It's been a busy week for the Animal Rescue League. The organization took in more than 150 animals from a roadside zoo in Manchester. KCCI's Tizia Muzinga has the details on what was discovered at Cricket Hollow Zoo.
5 grizzly bears, 2 mountain lions, 2 macaws, a camel, a wolf, opossums, a fennel fox, 2 ferrets, 2 large tortoises, 4 turtles, 2 pythons, and many more.
That's the long list of animals the ARL is desperate to find, and they need your help. They're afraid the missing animals were given away, sold, or now deceased.
There is a field adjacent to the Sellner's property that they describe as a compost pile, where there are a number of dead animals, bones of all different species of animals.
Their concerns come shortly after hundreds of animals were saved from the Cricket Hollow Zoo. Some of them include black bears, baboons, horses, rats, raccoons, donkeys, pigs, and the list goes on. The ARL says the rescued animals were in cages that were dirty and too small. Some of them have sores, and the smell of the zoo made volunteers' eyes burn. There were more dead animals inside than living.
Saying you love animals is not enough. And we are seeing it time and time and time again where people are thought to just absolutely love animals, but then we get in and we see filthy conditions, poor diets, dead and dying animals, and it simply has got to stop.
So this fight isn't over. They're putting the pressure on Iowa lawmakers.
Right now in the Senate, we have House File 737 that can be passed out of committee, voted on by the Senate, and sent to Governor Reynolds.
So animals like these can finally get justice.
And joining me now to talk about this case is the CEO of the Animal Rescue League, Tom Colvin, and Director of Development at the ARL, Stephanie Filer. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tom, the case with Cricket Hollow Zoo has been going on for a while. We understand the USDA has been documenting issues for at least the past decade. Can you talk a little bit about the background here and why the zoo was allowed to continue to operate for so long?
Well, that's a really good question, Stacy. And we've received complaints about and concerns about the zoo for, probably the last decade. And why they've been allowed to continue even though there are violations cited again and again and again, we don't have the answer to that. We've certainly asked the USDA often about, this facility and other facilities that are regulated by the USDA, and we're not getting satisfactory answers. It's simply that seems to be that once you get that license, you are protected to keep it. And it's very frustrating for us.
Need more oversight?
Well, the oversight seems to be there. There just has to be an appetite for when places have shown themselves incapable of properly caring for the animals, that animals be taken from them immediately, and that action be instigated by the USDA, and that's where it just seems to stop.
Stephanie, these animals have been through a lot, and the ARL is hands full, I would imagine, right now, caring for all of these creatures.
Yeah, on Monday morning when we were on the property, we already had 1,400 animals back in our care at the shelter, so adding another 160, and then the additional animals that followed later on in the week definitely adds additional burden to the staff and volunteers.
Additional animals later on in the week. When we talked to you earlier, you had said that you thought maybe some animals were, unaccounted for. So you found them?
We did. We got back on the property and found additional animals back in buildings where we had already cleared. So we were able to remove those animals as well this time, but that still doesn't account for everything that's been missing.
Oh, wow. And those animals were in critical condition as well?
We're still waiting for the final results, but yeah, they were in the same poor conditions that all the other animals were in.
It makes you kind of angry, doesn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it does. I think it was difficult for me to kind of control my emotions on that last interview because, it isn't only this situation. It just seems like it's been a year of finding multiple animals in very poor conditions, and it is very overwhelming and frustrating to all of us.
Why is it so easy, or how is it so easy to get exotic animals like bears and baboons, and the list goes on, that these folks had?
Well, several years ago, we went to the legislature really out of desperation because the Animal Rescue League, in a matter of 2 or 3 years, was receiving, we were receiving like a Bengal tiger was brought to the Animal Rescue League, macaques. We had some mountain lions that were being severely neglected, a bobcat. So we went to the legislature and said, this private ownership of these types of animals is out of control, and it's affecting us too. So we went to them with a bill. So there is a law in Iowa that addresses ownership of these animals now. What we ended up not happy about was that you are pretty much exempted if you have a USDA license. You would fall under the USDA, which Cricket Hollow was as well. So there goes the additional concerns. So there was state efforts going on this situation, and there's federal oversight, but the problem still continues.
All right, Stephanie, what's next in this particular case with Cricket Hollow?
Well, we're still trying to find the remaining animals, working with Animal Legal Defense Fund and all of our rescue partners, and then ultimately finding permanent placement for all of the animals that were removed. We have had babies being born since. We've had a lot of animals in critical medical need, so working to rehabilitate and socialize where needed and get them ready for their final placement.
Tom, owners have not faced criminal charges.
Not criminal charges.
Is
no.
a civil lawsuit the best course of action for this?
I think that was the only course of action, and fortunately the Animal Legal Defense Fund went forward, or we wouldn't even be having these animals, quite frankly. So I think it was the only option available.
Okay. Now, KCCI did attempt to contact the owners of Cricket Hollow Zoo. We have not heard back. Our conversation with Tom and Stephanie continue right after this.
KCCI 8 and EMC Insurance.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up our conversation with Animal Rescue League CEO Tom Colvin and Director of Development at the ARL, Stephanie Filer. Now, the ARL has been dealing with a number of animal hoarding cases this year. One of the latest was just last month, dozens of dogs, a number of cats pulled from a Des Moines home. Are there more of these kinds of cases, or are we just hearing about them more often, Tom?
Well, actually, I asked that of a friend of mine that I consider, Dr. Lockwood, Dr. Randy Lockwood, with the ASPCA, and I consider him an international expert on the subject. So I asked him about that, and he said, yes, unfortunately, there are more cases of hoarding in general, and animal hoarding in particular, that seem to be happening now. Why? I don't think anybody has a specific answer to, but we're certainly seeing it here in the Des Moines area.
How quickly does a case become a hoarding case, Stephanie? I mean, you know, you go from 1 to 2 cats and dogs to a house full of them.
Yeah, it really just depends on the individual and what they're able to care for. That for some people that can be one animal, and that's too many for them. And for others it can be 10, 20. The Madrid case we had earlier this year, 400. So it really is looking at the level of care that the individual animals are receiving and realizing that 20 animals in any home, to even give them the attention that they need, is probably going to be too hard and too much for one person, let alone the feeding and cleaning and everything else that goes with it.
Hygiene of it all,
exactly.
Right. Well, Tom, you've been working to strengthen Iowa's animal abuse laws. What needs to change?
A lot of things, actually. Our current companion animal, and that's what we're specifically working on right now, Stacy, is companion animals. It's not livestock. It's a section within our Iowa code that goes directly to dogs and cats and other than livestock animals. So the things that we are trying to do is to strengthen not only the punishments, but also the type of language that we're using. For example, you know, you basically can't abuse your own animal by definition. You can abuse your neighbor's animal or another person's animal. Things like that are confusing to prosecutors and judges, and you know, so we're trying for clarifications as well as just an overall strengthening of that section.
Last legislative session, the bill passed the Iowa House, didn't move forward at all in the Iowa Senate. What's your take on what to expect for the upcoming legislation that starts in January?
Well, we're told, and we're hoping we're told that this is going to be a priority and that it will go forward. It will pass out of the Senate and go to the governor, where we can certainly expect that it would be signed, and that should happen shortly after the session starts. So we are really counting on this. It's House File 737, and it really needs to pass without amendments. It is a good, clean bill, and it needs to go forward.
What's the biggest obstacle for this bill, Stephanie?
Well, we were surprised that it didn't pass last session. I mean, to get any bill passed unanimously, bipartisan effort is amazing. So to have that happen in the House and then to have it fall flat in the Senate was just incredibly disappointing. We know that the lawmakers were hearing from their constituents. They told us, the lawmakers told us. So we're just ready for it to finally get pushed through this year, and we've seen plenty of reason why in 2019 that needs to happen, and it's too little too late until it does.
Yeah, that's right. We've seen a lot of examples of animals poorly treated. The ARL now has an animal abuse intervention coordinator. What should somebody do if they suspect that an animal is being abused?
Report it to the local law enforcement, and then if the local law enforcement does not take action, let us know at the Animal Rescue League. And what we basically will do is work with that law enforcement and see why it isn't, you know, being pursued. Maybe it's a situation that it doesn't rise to the level of being neglect or abuse, or maybe it does and the local law enforcement doesn't have the necessary resources to take it forward. That's what our coordinator does, is provides those resources.
Okay. Tom Colvin, Stephanie Filer from the Animal Rescue League, thank you both for being with us today, and thank you for all of the work you put in day in and day out. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, Preventing Teenage Vaping, the new statewide campaign that targets students and their parents.
My robe doesn't have superpowers.
Welcome back to KCCI 8 News Close-Up. The state of Iowa is launching a new awareness campaign. It's aimed at teenagers and their parents. It focuses on the dangers and the deadly risks of vaping. KCCI's chief political reporter Cynthia Fodor shows us what this campaign entails.
Ask any teenager and they're not surprised. Vaping is an epidemic. Many students will be addicted by the time they're 21.
We want to do everything we can to help prevent students from being trapped in an addiction to nicotine.
The statistics are shocking.
About 2% of our 6th graders, 8% of our 8th graders, and 22%, that's almost 1 in 4 of our 11th graders, are currently using these products.
Concerned about the impact on lungs and developing brains, the state is now launching a full digital marketing campaign. Messages delivered through Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook. Posters pointing out one vaping pod is equivalent to smoking 20 cigarettes. This new video targets teenagers.
Vaping can make it hard to breathe and could affect your lungs for years to come. Escape the vape.
Another video is aimed at parents.
Is your teen hiding something from you in plain sight?
Teaching them how to talk to their kids at yourlifeiowa.org.
It needs to be another peer, another student that's saying, hey, this isn't cool, and you need to not vape.
Students like Courtney Sweet are also organizing to tell their friends to just say no.
It makes kids realize that vaping is real. It's not a joke. It's not something for fun. It's not a tool to gain popularity. Vaping is a reality and can kill you.
And it is scary stuff. And joining me now to talk more about this is state epidemiologist Dr. Caitlin Pedati. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we understand that 1 in 4 high school students vape. 1 in 9 report vaping on a daily basis. Is this an epidemic situation here?
Yeah, it is. And in fact, almost exactly a year ago, the United States Surgeon General Jerome Adams declared e-cigarette use among youth to be an epidemic. And like other states and really the nation overall, unfortunately, Iowa has seen an increase in our youth using these products.
So tell us about the campaign. When was it first proposed?
Yeah, so I think in light of a lot of the concerns around the outbreak of respiratory injury and illness around e-cigarette and vaping product use, we were really working as a multidisciplinary team at Public Health to kind of come up with how we might better understand what's going on. And in the course of doing that, we realized we were hearing that there's really a need for more education and more awareness about these products and a better understanding of what we do and don't know about them.
You know, the e-cigarette devices were initially promoted as a safer, healthier, if you will, alternative to cigarettes, traditional cigarettes. Are they?
Yeah, so there is some research that suggests that for some adults, these products might help them to get off of tobacco products. Now, these products aren't FDA-approved devices for quitting smoking, and again, there's a lot we still don't know about the long-term use of them and how well they perform.
But safer for adults.
Yeah, again, since they're not FDA approved, it's a little hard to say because we don't yet have enough information even about their use by adults.
They are a relatively new product, I guess, in that manner.
They are relatively new.
Does the use of e-cigarettes prevent teenagers from using traditional tobacco products?
You know, I don't think that that's ever been shown, you know, in other sort of research studies. I think that what we're trying to help people understand is that it's best for our youth if they never use these products of any kind. And we want to avoid setting them up for having lifelong challenges with nicotine addiction.
We'll talk about the nicotine addiction in e-cigarettes. What does that do to the brain?
Yeah, so we know that nicotine can have an impact on things like learning, attention, and memory. And you can imagine that those would be particularly tough things for somebody who's young, whose brain is still developing. And our brains actually continue to develop up through age 25.
Now, Dr. Pedati, could you please paint a picture for us of what the vaping-related illnesses, the lung illness is? It's scary.
Yeah, you know, since about August, we've seen a variety of clinical symptoms in people who have presented with this kind of illness or injury. So often people will present with some kind of cough or breathing difficulty. Sometimes they'll report sort of vague symptoms like fever or feeling very tired. Some of them actually have some gastrointestinal or upset stomach kinds of symptoms. And some of them have unfortunately gone on to actually have respiratory failure or require assistance with breathing. And as we know from the CDC, there have actually been 48 associated deaths in 25 different states.
Can your lungs come back from that?
That's another great question, and it's part of what has us so concerned about this product use in general. We don't know what the long-term impacts of these products are. That's part of our concern and part of the message that we really want to make sure people understand.
What about the aerosol from e-cigarettes? Can contain some dangerous chemicals. What's that impact on the lungs?
Another great question, and it's another example of a place where we don't have enough information. But it's an important thing to recognize, and again, it's part of the message that we're trying to share with youth and with their parents, that unfortunately there's a lot we don't know about what's contained in some of these products and what the long-term impacts are.
Well, we just want to keep them from learning the hard way, finding out the hard way. Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll wrap up our conversation with Dr. Caitlin Pedati right after this. And welcome back. We are talking about the prevention program here in the state of Iowa to keep teenagers from vaping. Now, Dr. Pedati here is the state epidemiologist. She joins us now this morning. New numbers from the CDC this week: 52 deaths nationwide tied to the lung injury cases seen in patients who vape. Iowa has more than 40 cases. Is the solution to ban these products?
Yeah, you know, I think different states have taken some different approaches to these kinds of products. And what we really wanted to try and focus on was helping people, particularly young people, to better understand what these products are and what some of the risks and what some of the unknowns are. And so that's why we've really tried to spend a lot of our time on helping to increase awareness and provide good educational material.
A lot of times when you talk to young people, they have that they're invincible. Nothing could hurt them. Nothing can harm them. How do you get this message into their heads that, no, this is serious stuff?
Yeah, I think as we talked about yesterday, that really having peers or people around you who you can talk to about this is a really important thing. And I think also, you know, as a pediatrician, anytime that we can talk to our kids directly and really, you know, provide them with good information and empower them and say, we really want you to have all the knowledge you need to make a healthy choice for yourself, I think that helps them. And then, of course, making sure that the people around them, right, parents, teachers, healthcare providers, that the rest of us are also familiar with what these things are and what the risks are, so that we can really help support young people in coming to those healthy choices and decisions.
Would you like the FDA to get involved with this? You have said that FDA has not approved these devices?
Yeah, so these products are not approved as an FDA method for smoking cessation, but the FDA has certainly been working closely with CDC. We've been working with our federal partners and with other states around this outbreak, and also around, again, trying to recognize that keeping our youth from ever using these products is a really important thing.
Now, State Senate Majority Leader Jack Whitford says raising the age to buy tobacco products could help combat the vaping problem. What's your take on that?
Yeah, again, I think we heard from the governor yesterday that she's willing to consider a variety of options, and I think we all kind of have the same goal in mind, that we want to make sure that we keep our kids as healthy as possible and that we allow them to live the healthiest and best possible lives.
Well, Iowa Attorney General Tom Miller had told us that switching to e-cigarettes could save lives. He's against a full ban on these products. What is your opinion on e-cigarettes? Are they an effective tool for smoking cessation?
Yeah, again, I think this is an example of a place where we don't have all the information that we would like to, and that can be hard, but I think if we had a little bit better of an understanding of how these products work, what these products contain, and some more demonstration about how they're used and in whom they might be beneficial, I think that could really help people understand, you know, the best, safest, appropriate things to do. But for now, we just want to make it really clear, especially to our young people, that we don't ever want them to start using these products, and to people who are looking for a way to quit smoking, that they should work with their healthcare provider and pharmacist on finding an FDA-approved method.
Dr. Pedati, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here next week for Close Up.